I almost forgot to turn on the mic, but I remembered this time. I know there are a lot of stereotypes, there are a lot of unknowns, there are a lot of movies that have been made about the adult entertainment industry. We are going to take an in-depth look into the adult industry because there are so many stereotypes that I am going to answer all of your questions. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Rossi, and if you have stumbled upon my YouTube channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because I have new vlogs that come out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday where we talk about all the things you may need to know and all the things you may not need to know. Today, I want to crack open the adult industry and answer your questions. So what I did was I opened up the questions on my Instagram and let you guys ask all the questions that you've been curious about in regards to the adult industry, and I am going to answer some of the best questions that I received, and we will just go from there, and you will be full of all the knowledge in regards to the adult entertainment industry by the end of this video. Let's begin. There was a lot of questions, so bear with me. The first question is a pretty good question because it's a common thing that I feel a lot of people are curious about in regards to the adult entertainment industry. The question was, are adult models available for private parties or private meetings? Yes and no. Don't assume because somebody does adult work or because they are an adult model that they do privates. It really just depends on the girl. It really just depends on if she does privates or if she does do escorting on the side. It really just depends. Another good question, does size matter for male entertainers in the adult entertainment industry? I would have to personally say yes, size does matter, simply because you are going for a specific look and a specific appeal to audience members, and it's porn. So yeah, I mean, they kind of want the guys, the biggest manhoods, as you can gather why. But I know some very successful male performers who aren't huge. They're bigger than average, but they're not huge. However, if you are looking to be successful, it's not just about the size. You also have to know how to work your tool. And you have to be able to stay hard. Are the cream pies and penetrations real? Honestly, depends. If you're doing softcore, sometimes there's not really any penetration and it's just pretend. But yeah, I mean, if you're seeing it full blown, the thing going into the thing, yes. I'm trying to keep this PG-13 as best as I can, but yes, the penetration is real. It really does happen. As for the cream pies, it really just depends. It depends on the girl, it depends on the movie, it just depends. Sometimes it's real, sometimes it's not. Is it true performers are paid more when they do DPs or DVPs? Yes, it is true. If you have a good agent and or if you represent yourself well, you will get more money because it's more work, it's more entertainers, it's more. I personally always charged more when there was multiple sex partners in the scene. So for example, if it was a boy-girl-girl or if it was a boy-boy-girl, I always charged more than my boy-girl rate because I felt like twice the amount of work, it's twice the amount of exposure, and it's, you know, twice the amount of people involved. For the most part, yes, if you're doing a DP or a DVP, of course you want to get paid more. I got a lot of questions about how to become a male porn star. To be completely honest, I don't know the answer to that because I'm a female. My best advice would be to Google a reputable adult entertainment agency and send them your pictures and go from there. Where is the industry located? Majority of the industry is located in the San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles. However, a lot of the industry moved to Las Vegas a few years ago. You know, if you're a performer, you probably split your time between Vegas and the Valley. Of course, there's adult entertainment all over, but the main industry is in the San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles. I thought this was a good question. Do I have fear of STDs? I, of course, have fears for STDs. However, do you have fears that you're going to fall when you're walking down the sidewalk? I make sure that I get tested. I make sure my partners are tested, we check each other's tests, and the adult industry has a system called PASS, and it's basically a system where producers and directors and other talent can go on and see if the fellow performers or talent's test is expired or not expired. They have a whole panel of tests that we have to take: gonorrhea, chlamydia, syphilis, hepatitis, HIV, of course. It's just as risky as having a one-night stand, in my opinion, but a one-night stand is actually more risky because with the one-night stand, you're not going and both getting tested to make sure you both are cleared. You kind of are just both doing it and hoping nothing bad happens. What is the salary and wage of entertainers and contracts? Contracts are a whole other thing. I'll first answer the first part of the question, what is the salary and the wage? Honestly, I'm kind of out of the loop because I have not performed in like a year and a half, but when I was performing, the medium rate for a girl who was an A-list girl was anywhere between $1,500 and $1,800 a scene. If you weren't an A-list girl, you were probably getting anywhere from $800 to $1,000, and that is for boy-girl work. For girl-girl work, it just depends on the performer. Sometimes they get $700, sometimes they get $1,000. I know some A-list girls who charge $1,200 for girl-girl. It really just depends. As for male talent can range anywhere from $300 a scene to, I know some of the top male talent make upwards of $1,500 a scene. As for contracts, contracts really vary, but if you do get a contract, you're more than likely making more than the average performer does per scene. However, you're contracted to do X amount of scenes. So if you're only contracted to do 12 scenes a year, your rate is, say, $5,000 a scene, you kind of have to give and take what your financial situation is, or if you have any other avenues of income, because that really limits your ability to make more money. Yeah, you have to do more scenes at a lesser rate, but you're not locked into doing 12 scenes or whatever your contract is. If you're gonna do a contract, you have to make sure you negotiate a really solid contract. I've had a few contracts in my career, and some of them were really good and some of them were not so good. Do adult stars hook up with each other outside of the industry? Yes, this is very, 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 very common. The adult entertainment pool is kind of incestuous. A lot of people have dated each other. It's just one of those things where I guess the reason why they date each other and hook up with each other is because it's just a lot easier to understand each other, to understand the job as a whole, and it's really hard to expect what we call civilians, people who are not in the industry, to understand our line of work. It's much easier to date or hang out with people who are within the industry. This is a really good question. POV shoots when there's only one guy, and how do you know that it's not for that guy's private collection? You only do POV shoots with reputable directors. I have never done a POV shoot where there wasn't at least 3 to 5 people on set. You just have to really gauge it, and that's why it's good to have an agent when you're newer, because when you're newer, you don't really know who's good and who's bad in the industry. It's nice to have an agent kind of filter that stuff out, because if you have a really good agent is not going to book you for some private collection guy. Why is it okay to pay some female performers as low as $300 to $500 per scene? Do I think that's too low? Do I think that's too low? Absolutely. I don't think you should be doing a scene for $300 to $500 at all. No way. I'm a firm believer that I think every every female talent should make a minimum for a boy-girl scene. I think a female talent deserves at least $1,000 per scene, but female talent don't always get that. And a lot of it just has to do with your name and your brand and your notoriety, your social media following, your Pornhub rankings, etc., etc., etc. Companies really pay attention to that, and if you're just starting out, you have to earn your ranks. You have to, you know, work your way up. You can't just walk in and start making a bunch of money. I wish that you could, but that's the reality. It's the reality in any line of work. It doesn't matter what business you're in. You can't just start from the top. You gotta work your way up. Are the slut characters real in real life? I'm assuming you're asking the question of these girls who sleep around a lot or like sex. Some of them are real and some of them do create a fictional character, because you have to remember that each person is a character. It's not really them. However, some people really embrace their porn persona and they really are that person. But there is definitely a lot of people who have a porn persona and who have a real life persona. Another person asked, are talents treated well on set because they have read about some poor experiences that some people have had? This is why it's very important to have a good agent. Number one, if you are brand new, it's very important in my opinion. And it's very important to have somebody looking out for you. I personally haven't had any bad experiences that were like, oh my God. I've had days where I'm like, that was a day that was just too long or too much drama or whatever, you know, like a typical job would be. I've never had an experience where it was so bad that I was like, oh my God, this just makes my whole perception of the adult entertainment industry just negative. A lot of the reason why people have poor experiences is, number one, they are not mentally ready to be in the adult entertainment industry. They're getting into the adult entertainment industry for the wrong reasons. And number two, it could be because legitimately they were working with a scumbag. And unfortunately, there are scumbags. Just like any industry, there are good people and there are bad people. There are good people to work with and there are bad people to work with. Lately, has amateur porn become more popular than mainstream porn? Yes. The reason being, number one, is because of COVID. A lot of adult performers have transitioned to OnlyFans or mini-vids or their Snapchats or whatever it is they're using to generate an income, because right now a lot of people in the adult entertainment industry are not filming because the protocols are kind of strict. That is the reason why you're seeing an influx in more amateur style adult entertainment. Do I think that this is going to stick? I really don't know. I mean, I know a lot of us are making way more money than we ever did doing mainstream. I'm making way more than I ever made doing mainstream adult films, and honestly I had a fairly high rate, so for me to say that I'm making more money on the amateur side is definitely something notable in my opinion. Someone asked, I heard female performers get paid more than male performers. Is this true? The majority of the time female performers do get paid more than male performers, but there are times where if you're working with like a really high-end male performer, they're making more than you. It really just depends on your status and it depends on who you're working with. Are you working with a new guy? Are you working with an experienced guy? Are you working with a top A-list guy? Typically, yes, females do make more than men in this industry simply because females have to go through more. It's a lot harder on the female body to be in this business than it is on the male body. Also because sex sells and women are sexy and women are the appeal for the most part. That's pretty much why women make more. This person asked if a lot of females in the industry use drugs. Just like any walk of life, there are people that use drugs. Yes, absolutely. And usually those people who are using drugs are either using drugs because they're trying to lose weight, or they're using drugs because they're trying to mask whatever it is they feel or whatever emotional issues they're having. They use drugs to mask that. So of course there are people that use drugs, but there are also a lot of us who don't use drugs. I mean, yeah, there is drug usage, but not as excessive as the media or the stereotype paints the adult industry to be. It's not like a bunch of drug addicts running around like crazy. No, it's not like that. Good question. How do the women in the adult industry not get pregnant? Well, I hope they're on birth control. If they're not on birth control, then they're playing Russian roulette, and I don't recommend it. Another person asked, how long are the scenes? Do you just keep going the entire time? No, we don't. If you're a seasoned performer, you could probably get through the entire 45 minutes without stopping. If you're not seasoned, you probably are gonna have to cut a few times, and that's okay. I mean, I was notorious for cutting because I get tired, I get overwhelmed, or I get just thirsty because I'm a thirsty and sometimes you're doing a lot of things that require a lot of spit, and sometimes you just need a break for some water. Somebody asked, if somebody refuses to do a scene with another person, are they looked down upon within the industry? Absolutely not. We actually have our no lists. Some of us have yes lists. I was notorious for having a yes list, which basically meant I would only work with specific people. Instead of having like specific people that I wouldn't work with, like on a no list, I was very picky and I was like, no, these are the very few people that I will work with, and that's that. But a lot of us have no lists, a lot of us have yes lists. It just depends. We're free to choose whoever we want to work with. Of course, the more you limit yourself, the less work you're gonna get, and it's gonna be harder to build your brand. So if you're new, I recommend just, you know, doing what you gotta do. Work with whoever you gotta work with. And if you have a bad experience, then put that person on your no list. On average, how long does it take to shoot a full scene? Typically, it takes about 45 minutes to an hour, but that's not just like straight sex. There's cuts, there's breaks, there's position changes, there's intros, there's outros, so there's the setup. There's just so much that goes into it, but it gets edited down to about 30 minutes. The final question I'm going to answer about the adult industry is, how do you not get nervous doing a scene, being naked in front of a whole crew? This is how I don't get nervous. Literally, I'm an exhibitionist. I like being naked. I don't care. But for those who are newer to the industry, I always would tell them, look, these people have seen people naked. These people have seen people in the most compromising positions ever, so they don't care. It's like another day at the grocery store for them. If they're professional, they're not gonna be inappropriate or creepy or weird. There have been times where I would be nervous because I was working with a performer that I really wanted to work with, or a male talent that I really wanted to work with, so it would more be on the intimidated rather than nervous. But I just pushed through and I did what I had to do because I'm a professional and I've been doing it for 10 years, and it's just like riding a bike, and it's just automatic, and you know, hopefully you have good chemistry with that person and the scene turns out amazing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and don't forget, my name is Rossi. Hit that subscribe button and I'll see you later. Bye.